Yo guys, welcome back to the PBNP podcast, episode number 20. A bit of a milestone episode today because a whole 20 episodes of us doing this now. As you can probably see on the screen to my left, Waddle's not here again, but Aaron is. A bit of an upgrade, I'd say. What do you think, Aaron?
Oh, thank you very much. Very nice, yeah. Very nice, thank you.
It's alright. You guys might recognise Aaron from a previous episode. He was on the LGBT football one a few months ago. Aaron's a very close friend of mine, and he's standing in for Waddle today. And we're just going to talk a bit about Aaron. But if you guys won't know, this is the third time me and Aaron have tried to record this podcast.
Yes, it is.
Just due to shitty weather. So we've had to do it over this. Bit of a downgrade in terms of standard, but we're still getting the overall topic, and you're all getting to meet Aaron. So, Aaron, would you like to introduce yourself formally?
Formally. All right, okay, all right. I'm Aaron. Been a close friend of Tyrone's now for about, how long has it been now?
About
Six,
six.
7 years? Something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, 7 years. Um, and that's it, really. I mean, I was born down south, so I'm a Londoner at heart, but I moved up north when I was 3 years old, which is why I can't tell for the accent. Um, I mean, I just work in retail, really, as a retail manager. Sort of scrapped university, didn't fancy that, thought it was a load of crap, and that's it, really,
Well,
and that's just me.
Well, before we start on the overall topics, Aaron, you spoke about university there. I feel like, obviously, I'm at uni as well. There's quite a conception that you have to go to uni to do well. What's your opinion on, like, because you're same age as me, you're 22, still quite young. So what's your like opinion of like having to go to university just to do well, and it's the end of the world if you don't go to university, sort of thing?
I think it's a load of crap. I really do. I think it's an absolute, load of rubbish, really, to be honest with you. There's so many really successful, well-to-do people out there that haven't gone to university, haven't had that university education. If I could just roll off a few of them, Theo Pafitis, used to be on Dragon's Den, multimillionaire businessman. He's dyslexic, never went to university, has done really, really well. Bill Gates dropped out of university famously, and obviously he's gone on to do really, really well. I think that university is so overrated, especially now because it's so expensive. You
Yeah.
know, a few years ago, the generation before us, when they were paying only a couple of £1,000 every academic year, then perhaps, yeah, university was the way to go. But now, when it's £9,250, and the quality in the teaching hasn't improved, is really, for me, it's just not worth it. And after all that hard work that I did in my A levels,
Yeah.
which I did really, really well at, and having to revise and read books all the time, I went to university. I just couldn't be, for want of a better word, I couldn't be asked
Mm.
with just reading. So that's why I dropped out. I really think it's overrated.
Yeah. I mean, like I just want to stress, like it's down to different people. So for Aaron, it might not work. For don't know, Bob, it might work. It's okay for me. I'm finding that balance of work life, and I'm getting things done. But there is a public consensus that if you don't get GCSEs and if you don't go to uni, then it's the end of the world. And qualifications, which can help you, it's adding strings to your bow. They aren't everything. I mean, me and Waddle spoke about it a few weeks ago. Teachers, there's a narrative that teachers set you when you're in school that you need to study for your GCSEs. Obviously, you do, but if you don't get them, then you're going to fail in life. And I feel like that's just, I think that's something that's a flaw in the system of the education, because there's too much pressure on teenagers and stuff like that to get that specific grade. And then when you don't get the grade, I mean, I experienced it. I didn't get that great grades. You do think, oh, my life, I'm not going to do much of it. And I feel that's one thing, because let's not forget, when you're 16, 17, you're going through adolescence, and you've already got shit going on in your head, hormones and shit like that. And you got different things figuring out who you are as a person as you're growing up. And I don't think it does you any favors, like teachers telling you you've got to do this, if you get my gist.
Yeah, well, I think that's exactly right. The expectation on me from teachers was that I was a straight A student. I got two A stars and an A at A level. That I was going to go on and do really well in either sociology or politics or something like that. Uh, but to be honest, that just wasn't for me. It just wasn't worth it. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? It just wasn't worth it at all. But not only that, though, I think financially for me it wasn't viable. You
yeah,
know, I was quite poor growing up. I have to pay bills. I have to pay my half of the rent. You know, I've got a car on finance. So for me, it wasn't financially viable for me to go to university. I had to go to work full time. You
yeah,
know, for me to be able to pay my way through life. I know that some kids are, or some young people are quite lucky in the sense that a lot of their, parents or grandparents or someone like that may be able to help them.
yeah.
But for me personally, that wasn't an option. That wasn't available to me. So I had to go and work. And that's another reason why I dropped out of university, you know?
Yeah, I feel like that's really going to resonate with people because I feel like that isn't said enough by people. I mean, I think like it's you need to do this, do that, but things are put into context. And I feel like your situation needs to be put into context because there is instances where uni or stuff doesn't work and you've got to put priorities first. And uni just for some people isn't a priority like for you because you've got more important things. You've got a car, you've got a job, you've got to pay your bills. And I feel like some people frown upon it, stuff like that, if you don't have a specific type of education. But we move. So, Aaron, we're going to discuss a little bit about your venture that you took through during lockdown. Um, well, I say venture, you've been through a few ventures during lockdown. Um, I mean, for you who don't know, obviously I've got my business, and through lockdown, Aaron also started a business. I don't want to say too much. I want to let Aaron explain it, but let's just say he's been through a few, which he's finally settled on now. But yeah, do you want to tell a little bit more about that?
I think you've got to kiss a few frogs before you find your prince. That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
saying, isn't it? You've got to go for a few ideas before you get to the idea. I've started a vodka brand. Uh, I've started a vodka brand. We're just flipping between two names at the moment. I'm not going to reveal what name it is because I want that reveal to be part of my marketing going forward. So I'm not going to reveal that. However, it's really it's going at quite an exciting pace. We've developed a few concept vodkas that we really really like. The market research has been done. We know what the market wants. We know what the price point is. So that's something that really I'm going to try and push forward now. But the big priority for me now is clearing my debt, and trying to get my credit rating up. And I think that is something that I would give as advice to anybody out there, whether they're starting a business or not, is really improve your credit score because it opens so many doors up for you. If you want to go out there and get a business loan, if you want to go out there and buy a house, if you want to go out there and get the car of your dreams, get your credit rating up, it really, really opens a lot of doors for you. So that's my main priority now at the moment is trying to do that.
yeah. And I mean, I've discussed my business origin and the story in terms of what made me start it. Do you want to go into a bit of detail into why you wanted to start a business? How you came up with the idea of a vodka brand and the changes you went through in terms of you wanted to do this sort of brand, but then you thought, no, this vodka brand is the way to go. What were your way of thinking? How did it start? How did it change over time?
Yeah, I think I think for both of us, the main reason why we've started a business is for financial freedom.
Yeah,
And I think that is the main, driving factor for so many entrepreneurs out there is having a business that's profitable is a way to financial freedom. It's not having to be reliant on a 9 to 5 job. It's not having to be, uh, you know, reliant on a regular income to pay your bills all the time.
yeah,
And I think that is a dream for so many people. That's certainly the dream for me. And that's why I started, the idea of going into a business. I think for me, the reason why I went into vodka was because it was um, a low expense to
yeah.
begin with. So I think so many businesses out there, especially new ventures, run the risk of just being cost after cost after cost and
Fine,
so many initial expenses. I
fine.
know you've had quite a few,
I'll go into that after you've spoken about it, but yeah, carry on.
and it was something that I personally didn't want to do because I um, wanted to start a business, but not run the risk of getting myself into so much debt.
Yeah,
And that's why I found a really great distillery. I'll mention the name on here, Wharf Distillery. So that's WHARF. Wharf Distillery. They're great. They're fantastic. They allow you to develop, the spirits and drinks you want at such a low output of expense. And that's why I went with the vodka business primarily.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, I mean, we've discussed on here, like, starting a business. I think you've got to find, when you do start a business, you've got to find that niche, that USP, and then you want to make that change within the market. And that was my primary reasoning. Obviously, but like you said, financial freedom. And I think I'd say that is the number one. But there is a bit of a taboo talking about finances in terms of business, because there's a taboo because people see it as, oh, you want to make more money than me, stuff like that. And I feel like that is true. It's stuff people need to talk about more in terms of why I start. Because I see so many people say they're going to start a business because, oh, it's my passion, it's my dream. But there's no two ways about it. Money is the driving factor of it. And it is, people don't speak about it enough because they're afraid to think the reputation and the perception people are going to think. But I think you are right. Financial freedom is the thing. And I will agree in terms of, we've both done 9-to-5 jobs, you more than me, but we've both done 9-to-5 jobs. And for some people it works. And I've talked about this before. Some people, that's their ideal outcome. They want to do 9-to-5 jobs and that's fine. But I just feel for me, or for you personally, that's not what I want to do with the rest of my life. I'd like to work for myself. I want to be creative. I want to make a difference. And I feel like both of us can do that within our own lanes. And the benefit you have, like you said, you didn't want to spend. I think obviously you not spending too much money on your small business. I think you had the advantage of watching me doing that and seeing the mistakes. And I feel like, I did do that. I jumped 2 feet in straight away and put all my eggs on the table, my cards on the table, and that's where you go wrong. That's why people go wrong when they start. And I've learned from that in terms of the mistake I made. And that's what you're probably going to make a mistake. You've probably made a mistake along the way already. And I feel like that's massive. Exactly. That's massive when you start a business, learning from your mistakes.
I think the biggest mistake I made was trademarking.
Oh, man.
That was the biggest mistake. It's such a, like a maze. It's like a real sort of, jungle type maze that you have to navigate, so many rules, regulations, and it's all that really flowery, foamy language that you don't understand.
Yeah.
Only lawyers that have gone to Oxford would ever understand that type of language. And it was really difficult. I made so many mistakes. That's where most of my money really has gone missing, is through mistakes in trademarking. And then I've had to go and pay for it again, resubmit it again. And it doesn't also waste just money, it's time as well, because it's such a lengthy process. And that's why I think you're so much more further in your business than what I am, is because I've made so many mistakes with the most time consuming bit. So please, if you're out there, do your research.
Yeah. I feel what I like doing with this podcast though is because there's so many podcasts of people who've been there and done it in terms of entrepreneur stuff. But they're there. They're at the top, and it's hard to relate to them, even though when they do tell you these mistakes, because they're already there. I feel like the benefit of this is that we've got people who are at the beginning of their journey doing things which other people can look at and go, they're doing it right now, so I can relate to them because they're making mistakes as we watch them. It's easy saying to people, I've made these mistakes, but you look perfect at the time. But let's not get two ways about it. I'm less than a year into my business. I'd say you're less than 8 months into your business. So it's one of them things, and we're at the beginning of our journey, which is something people can relate to. And what I find very interesting is something I was thinking about as you were talking. I remember the first time I told you about my business. I think you were one of the first people I told, and your mind and your perception and opinion switch from then to now is crazy. Because I know, like, we're going to touch on this. I think when someone first tells you, oh, I'm just going to start my own business, I'm going to be successful, it is kind of hard to get your head around, because it's so rare people do it and succeed. But then it's all about learning that person's mindset, and if they are committed about it, because so many people have done it and just thought, oh, fuck it, halfway, because there's nothing coming from it. I just want you to get your opinion on how you first reacted when I told you I was starting my business, to your perception now in my business and you starting your own.
I thought you were crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought you were crazy. I thought, here we go again. Do you know, this is just going to be a pipe dream. You know, it'll fade after a few weeks. We won't hear any more about it. Um,
Don't forget, like, let's not forget, me and you have over the years talked about doing things, but not done them.
yes, yeah, and I'm probably more guilty of that than what you are.
Yeah,
You know, I talk about I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to go and visit that place, and I want to drive that, you know, and do this, and actually, I don't actually get round to it at all. I think you're probably more driven than what I am, but it's your drivenness which has infused me to become driven. And I think you do need, you know, when you want to change something in your life, no matter what it is, you know, you need somebody to spark that catalyst within you.
yeah,
So whether that's starting a business, whether that's changing a career, whether that's losing weight, whether that's, you know, anything you want to do, you need to have somebody to look upon, to actually get guidance from. And I'll be thankful because you made so many mistakes I didn't make because you did them first. Do you see
yeah,
what I mean? And that learned from you. And you know, so yeah, I think you definitely do need that. Yeah.
yeah. And I feel um, people say to people all the time, anyone can start a business, and which is true to a certain extent. You've got to be real and say you've got to be a certain type of person to start a business. And I feel like um, anyone can be that person, but no, someone like well, we've got friends. I'm not going to name names. We've got friends who aren't that driven, are happy in their jobs as they are. They're okay to just drift through life, which is fine.
Let me just I'll butt in there
Yeah,
because
cool.
I don't know whether they're actually happy in their jobs,
Yeah,
but
okay, yeah,
they're not unhappy to an extent where they want to change it. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah. And I feel like even then, I don't feel someone who what's the word? Not driven, but who isn't willing to take risks can do a business, can create a
Yeah.
business. I feel like if you play it safe, you just creating a business is making a change. I think it's going against the grain in terms of the ideal 9 to 5, go to college, go to university, get this ideal job through a education system. And I feel like so little people have done it. And that's why the percentage of entrepreneurs around the world or in the UK is quite low, because it's not common to be an entrepreneur. You've got to have a certain type of mindset to be an entrepreneur. They are growing in terms of the generations. I think our generation is more entrepreneurial and creative than the last one. And that's actually going to happen over time. But I feel like you've got to be a certain type of person. And like you said, you've got to have that driving force to make you be that person. If that's through a person, if that's through a past experience, if that's through someone you look up to. And it is very important. And I'm quite happy to be that for you, because I feel like that I started out my brand to help other people through different ways. So maybe I've helped you start your own business. Maybe I've helped someone else lose weight. Maybe I've don't know, helped someone else start their own business, sort of thing. And I feel that's so important. So do you? So to cut off your business thing, I know you don't want to reveal too much because it's kind of like a surprise launch. I know it's hard. You've got to think about this because you've got to do it in specific words because you don't want to reveal everything. But what are your motivations / goals for this year? I know the pandemic's hit your plans quite hard, but we are coming out of maybe the better side of lockdown now. Um, Obviously, finances play a part. What's your goals in terms of this year from now in March to December 21?
Yeah, I've got quite a structured business plan,
Yeah,
and I've had a very structured business plan from the start
yeah,
of my vodka. So first of all, it started all the way with market research, and that was the very first thing that I did. Um, Obviously, lockdown has impacted the speed at which my business can develop because I can't go and visit the distillery to then produce a vodka to then go on and develop, because of local lockdown. Coming out of lockdown, what I'm hoping is that the trademark goes through.
yeah,
Right. Hoping, praying that the trademark is going to go through. Um, Once trademark goes through and we're actually certain of what the name is, then we can really start to push things forward. So then the design aspect comes into it, the bottling aspect, the labeling aspect. I will then apply for a business loan, provided that my debts have gone down, my credit rating has gone up. And if I get that business loan, then we'll push ahead with all the promotional material before we actually officially release the product. So I'm hoping maybe I'm being optimistic, but I'm hoping by Christmas, we'll be ready to release this vodka. And I think it's going to be fantastic. I really do. I'm convinced it's going to be fantastic.
That's good, man. I'm happy. I'm happy that you're really passionate about it, and I feel like just the last point on this. Your product has to be different. It has to have a USP. To the audience, please, in as discreet as you can, because I don't want to be the one who ruins all the surprise. What's going to be the difference between your product and, say, a Smirnoff or a Glen's or something like that?
The difference is that my vodka is a premium craft British vodka, and what it is so many subtly entwined flavors that come into the vodka. I feel that many of, especially the English brands, are just plain, just original.
Yeah.
Such as a Glen's, for example, would be one of that. But then it's not, the price point of the vodka is not going to be as premium as something like a Belvedere or a Ciroc or something like that. So it's a very well priced, very subtly flavored British craft vodka, and that is what's going to make it sell.
There we go, mate. There we go. I'm sure everyone's really looking out for that, and when it does release, I will obviously promote it on the channel. I'll get one, and then we'll all, because nothing like promoting a friend's small business. I'm sure it'll be a success, mate, because everyone loves a good drink, and lockdown has restricted a lot of people, so it's going to be great. We touched on previously about experiences which will drive you to change your life, experiences that everyone's been through that they don't want to go through again. We don't have to talk about this if you don't want to. I messaged you before to make sure it was okay, but I want to talk a little bit about your eating habits, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because if obviously we've both been through shit before, and which is drove us to be the people we are today. So I've discussed a lot about nutrition on this podcast, on this channel before, and how it's a driving force in terms of getting in shape and feeling good mentally. I know for people who don't know, you've been through different things. So you've been fit for quite a while. You've put on weight again. Do you want to discuss a little bit about your eating habits and how they fluctuated over time, and how they're going for you now and stuff like that?
How much time have we got left? All right. So, I've always been overweight, ever since I was a kid, and I sort of got bullied quite bad for it, when I was going through high school and stuff like that. I think when I went to college, that's when things really changed for me, because I was surrounded by. So I went college later than everybody else in my year. So I was 20 and they were all 17, 18. And I was surrounded by really sort of like younger, trendier, popular, slimmer people than what I was. And that really drove me to kind of question how I felt about the way I looked, and about myself. I started to develop very unhealthy thoughts around food. Started researching some really extreme diets. I will name one. So I went on the Ketogenic Diet, so the keto diet. And that really is a very, very high fat, very, very low carb, almost zero carb diet. It was crazy. Some of the foods I was cooking was absolutely crazy. I was drenching, food in oil and fat and cheese and just gorging on that. And it did work because I lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
However, it wasn't healthy. And you start really craving carbs to such a high level. In the end, I became bulimic. So I went to the doctor, and I was referred to the eating disorders service. And the reason being because what I was doing is I was water fasting, so just drinking only water for like 3-4 days, developing such a high craving for carbs. It was like an all-consuming. That's the only way I can describe it, is it's all-consuming. The feeling is so overwhelming. I would go down to Tesco or to the shop, and I would literally raid the cake aisle or the chocolate aisle or the crisp aisle. I would raid it, go home, gorge on it, and then immediately feel absolutely disgusted with myself. You know, um, I did try and sort of vomit it up on a couple of occasions. I used laxatives to try and get rid of the feeling, or I just water fasted for longer, because I just felt this need that I've done this to myself. I've gorged on this food. I've done this to myself, and now I need to fix it. And those were the only ways that I could fix it. That was really, really dangerous. And actually, what I realized throughout our journey was, you have to find validation from within.
Yeah.
You have to find self-esteem from within, and it doesn't really matter what everybody else thinks, and how everybody else feels, what their perception is of you. You have to feel good for you, for yourself. So I went through various therapies, and in the end, I sort of became balanced in what I was eating. You know, I think that was that part. Once the eating became balanced, then I was really focused on the gym. And I was going to the gym 5-6 times a week.
Yeah.
Really intensely, working out and stuff like that. I did that for quite a while with you. You were my driving force with that, which was good. And then obviously lockdown ended, and that all ended. And I've since put quite a bit of weight back on. So no slim chicken anymore.
No, I think I think anyone who's been through eating disorders before, it's massively mentally tiring in terms of what it does to you. I know at the time I told you that all this water dieting and keto dieting wasn't the best thing, but when you're doing it and you're seeing results, I know it's intense and you're seeing results, it's kind of hard not to want to do it at the time, because what I will say is that it's effective in its task, because you are basically starving yourself. You are going to naturally lose weight, and when you're seeing results, you're like, well, why should I stop it? Because it's working for me. But that's for the short term. Like you said, you were starving yourself, and then when you couldn't stop the cravings, you were raiding the cake aisle and feeling shit. And that creates having no carbs in your system affects your serotonin in your brain. It affects your hormones. It affects your mood levels. So I find when I cut in the summer, or my mood's low, because your body needs these carbs to keep fueling itself, and it's going to go into starvation mode, which then limits your serotonin to your brain, which then affects your mood. So imagine that on a grander scale of just water and fat. And I've always said, like, I've spoke about all these extreme diets. There's nothing, if it works for you, it works for you. But for me, I'd never recommend these because they're not sustainable. I mean, if you want to lose weight, you need something that's going to work for you over the long term. I mean, I've always recommended flexible dieting as I have to you when we're going to the gym. I mean, eat what you want within within the means. I mean, moderation is key. You can, for me, I eat what I wanted on a daily basis. I had a pizza yesterday, but as long as it fit in my macros and it fit in my calories, and I was hitting my protein, I was hitting my carbs, why does it matter? We're not gonna put on weight. But for someone starting up in the fitness, someone starting up in the nutrition, it's kind of hard to get your head around that you can eat pizza and lose weight, that you can eat chocolate and lose weight. So you go to the most extreme diet you can find to get the weight loss quicker. We'll touch on the gym. I found when you went to the gym, you were really good, and obviously, the gym involves massive motivation. And sometimes I've got to separate myself from people. I'm like, I've got to think like they're not as motivated as me, and I find it hard to understand sometimes why people don't want to go to the gym, but that's just my flaw. I need to sometimes put myself in the people's heads and think they might not find it as a passion as I do. But when you were them and you lost loads of weight, you were toning, you were doing all that, and you were putting on muscle, and I can understand why you didn't go, because obviously lockdown has led to a lot of people's mental health and stuff like that, low motivation, plus work was mad for you as well. I want to discuss a little bit about body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
Because I've pleaded to people about going to the gym, and there is more benefits than positives there is more benefits than flaws in my opinion. But what I've experienced to people is, an advice I will experience, is if you are going to go to the gym to lose weight, you are going to experience body dysmorphia. I still do, because you're either one of two things. You're going to want to improve your body to the point you're always checking it. You think you're not good enough, and you're always like looking at how much muscle you've got, which is a form of body dysmorphia, because you're not happy with how your body looks. So you're always striving to look better. Or there's the opposite. You feel too fat. You feel all this sort of thing. And the gym does lead to body dysmorphia. I'm not going to hide that, because I suffer from it. And I'm sure you have in the past as well.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, body dysmorphia itself is a condition that was mentioned to me. I never actually got an official diagnosis. But body dysmorphia itself is an illness where you distort your perception of how you actually look. So you actually think that you look far bigger than what you actually do, or you think you look far smaller than you actually do, or your nose is bigger than what it actually is. You know, it can also be on the flip side as well. So a lot of times we speak about body dysmorphia being a very kind of debilitating condition, that things are worse than what it is. But actually, we could flip it for people that actually think that they are better than what they are.
Yeah.
You know, that they look better than what they actually do. So that's the flip side of body dysmorphia. But I think more times than not, it does affect people in a debilitating way. For me, I was fatter than what I actually was. You know, in that I needed to lose far greater weight than what I actually did, you know, to look better. I think for you, it was, I need to put more muscle mass on, you know, than what I have.
Well, I've been through both stages. So obviously in school, I wasn't fat, but I was massively chubby. So I hated my body in school from maybe when I was 16 to 18, 17, I can't remember. When I began to lose the weight, that was a massively horrible time mentally for me, because I looked bigger than I was. Even from now, I still paint a picture that I was bigger than I was. And then I went to the opposite spectrum. I've spoke about this before, where I lost too much weight. When I went to the gym, I wasn't doing weights. I was just purely running and not eating. So I was on about, I think I was on about 1,200 to 1,300 calories a day, which is not great, because I think the average female or woman needs 2,000 and a male needs 2,500 naturally. I know it differs from person to person, but my body at 6 foot to 6'1" cannot sustain 1,200 to 1,300 calories. My hormones was everywhere. I was depressed all the time. I was hungry all the time, and I was gaunt in the face. I was like, my arms were like sticks. Yeah.
I think what's also important to mention, and what I learned, you know, through therapy, was that our eating habits are dictated by our emotions.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. That's simple as. So if somebody is really losing weight at such a unhealthy and unnatural pace, it's because that emotionally there's something that's just not quite right.
Yeah.
So there's something in their self-esteem, or something in their past, or something. There's something going on which is affecting how they're able to regulate their emotions. Certainly for me, it was eating was an emotional output.
Yeah.
So I didn't do drugs. I didn't smoke. I didn't really drink that often, but food was an output for me. You know, what I mean? And that was, and I wanted carbs to increase my serotonin. You know, what I mean? And that was that. So I think people have really got to. We've got to find ways to try and emotionally satisfy ourselves from within. You know, it's got to come from you. You know, and you've got to be okay with you. And if you're not, then it's going to affect you in so many different ways. Whether that's eating, drinking, drug taking, gambling can be another output that people don't think of. Speeding, you know, another output. You know, I would really urge people to really try and find some comfort within themselves. Yeah.
I mean, you are completely right, mate. I mean, for me personally, I don't want to go too much into it, but I went through a shit time personally after school.
Yeah.
And for me, losing the weight was just trying to be a different person altogether. So I didn't want to be that person anymore. Um, so I just was starving myself to not be that chubby, vulnerable person anymore. I wanted to be stronger and stuff. So that was my terms of, and you are right, emotion is a massive part of eating, in terms of especially unhealthy eating. But yeah, I mean, this is a nice segue to mental health. This is the final topic we'll discuss, Aaron, because I feel like you've got a good experience, not obviously positive, but you've got a good story and stuff with mental health. I'm trying to word it roughly. Um, so basically, obviously, we've both been through depression and stuff like that, and it's not great. So what's your perception on how, because I've had other people discuss it, what's your perception on how our British culture perceive mental health?
I think it's gone too much the other way now. You know, and some people might slate me for saying this, but I'm just going to say it. You know, there was a time where nobody really spoke of mental health. It wasn't a topic that we ever discussed. It wasn't a topic that we ever acknowledged. Now I think it's gone a bit too much the other way.
Yeah.
I think it's something that some people almost strive to want. You know what I mean? Because we live in a culture now where, you know, we've got to stand out from the crowd. So I think it's almost like some people actually want to be a little bit different, want to be diagnosed with something. I mean, I can certainly think of a few people out there that I know of, who will say, "Oh, well, I've got this, and I've got this, and I've got this, and I've got this, and I've got this," because they really, I don't know. It's difficult for me to word this.
Yeah,
Um,
it's hard to say it in a way that doesn't offend anyone.
yeah, it is, but I almost feel as though some people just like on the lookout for stuff that they could be diagnosed
Yeah.
with. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And if that's a better way of phrasing it, and I think what that does is it
I think it belittles the issue a little bit.
yeah, that's exactly probably the way that I would term it. It sort of belittles it, distorts it a little bit.
Yeah.
We detract from people with real issues and real problems.
Mm.
You always say that people say that a bit of low mood is depression. That's not depression. That's low mood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that is temporary. That's something that will change tomorrow when you've had a sleep. That's not depression. Depression is something that is sustained, after a long period of time. It's something that affects everything that you do for quite a period. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to change. You don't want to shower. You don't even feel like getting up and making something to eat because the effort and the willingness just isn't there. Yeah, because it's like an overriding cloud of emotion.
Yeah.
And I think that some people, I think by people talking about it all the time, and saying, "Oh, I feel a bit depressed today," it ruins the integrity of what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be.
I
You
feel
know,
like people who do that, it defines their character as a person. I think people who say I feel depressed today, it literally belittles the fact they haven't done the research on what depression is. I feel like that also reflects on our society, is that people, there's two ways to look at it. There's people belittle it and there's people who overhype it. And overhyping the situation is, it's making it glamorized, it's making it popular. It's not a popular thing to have. People, there's legitimately people out there who are stuck in bed all the time, who have real issues, and there's people getting the people are getting therapized, going to counselling for stuff that isn't that big of an issue. And I think that's just down to our society not taking it seriously and understanding it enough. Because there's a lot of stuff like that that the British society just don't research. Um, People who watch this podcast are primarily younger. Obviously, we aren't old. We're like obviously in our early adolescence in terms of 20s and stuff like that. But we've been through a lot in terms of life experience. What would your advice be to younger people, 15, 16, 17, who are going through mental health issues? Because I feel like nowadays it's kind of hard to express you are actually depressed, because social media is such a massive part of society. It's so glamorized in people's lives. If your life isn't like this fitness influencer, this travel influencer, then your life's shit. And I feel that's just a thing, way of culture now. And what would your advice be to a younger teenager leaving school who isn't in the best of mindset?
I think it's very difficult because it's a lifelong learning process, and I mean, the advice that I want to give might not be right for somebody who's 15, 16, but I'm going to say it anyway. You need to cut off toxic people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it for me. Those 1,300 friends on Facebook. How many of them are actually friends? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I keep my friendship group very small now, and I surround myself with good people because I think that's the only way that really it sort of stabilizes me as a person. You need to get rid of all that toxicity,
Yeah.
that other people bring, all the drama that's unnecessary, all the negative comments, all the jealousy. Just get rid of it. Um, and another thing for me, what I've done is be content with yourself. Yeah. Be content in your own company.
Yeah.
You know, go on long drives with yourself. Yeah, music blasting, weather's good. Yeah, go on a walk by yourself. Just enjoy your own company
Yeah.
because it's only when you're truly, you know, um, satisfied with yourself and content with how you are as a person that you can be content in other people's company.
Yeah.
If you can't be content with yourself, how can you be content with other people?
Exactly, mate. And you've hit the nail bang on the head there. And I saw it the other day. It said something like, if you put a shark in a fish tank, it won't outgrow its environment. Where if you surround yourself around people of small-mindedness, of negative mindset, then you're not going to outgrow them people, because you're surrounded by them sort of people. So your mindset reflects the people you surround yourself with, sort of thing. And you are right in terms of go for long drives, go for long walks, go for runs. I see them three things as like a form of therapy, mental therapy, a meditation sort of thing. Meditation doesn't have to be sitting on your own, eyes closed, making funny noises. Therapy doesn't have to be sitting down with a therapist. You can do your own stuff. I think doing the things you love, which sets your mind free and stuff like, is therapy. So for me, I love running. I love lifting heavy weights. I love playing football. I love watching films. I love going for walks. For me, that through lockdown, they're the things that have kept my mind going. And you've got to find that thing that pushes you in terms of what commands you every single day, which keeps you going. And I will say one thing: mental health issues don't go away. I mean, they'll never go away. They're a part of you in terms of if you suffer from depression before, that your depression may ease. You bet your life may get better, but it'll always be there in the back of your head, sort of thing. But you've got to find something to tame it and keep you going, and find that path in life which focuses you. If that's doing, like we said, doing all these things we listed, starting a business, do things that commands you and pushes you, and that's how you grow as a person.
Yeah, it's also about being grateful for what you do have.
Yeah,
You know, and that's something I've taken everywhere. Is look at what you do have as opposed to what you don't have, and be compassionate, be empathetic to people who are not in the same situation as you. So, you know, for example, I mean, so I was sat in a car with a good friend of mine, and I was telling her a story about how I went to Tesco. Tesco with you actually. I went to Tesco with you, and I bought 2 packets of pineapple flavored Jaffa cakes. And I came out of Tesco, and there was a homeless man sat on the side of the cash machine, and I gave him a packet of my pineapple Jaffa cakes, didn't I? You know,
yeah,
'cause- and I didn't need 2 packets of pineapple Jaffa cakes. You know what I mean? Only needed one, didn't need two. And just because, you know, he should be able to enjoy what I can enjoy, even though he doesn't have what I have, you know
yeah,
what I mean? And I take that everywhere now. And once you adopt that sort of mindset, there are a lot of people that are worse out there than what you are. It really does open your eyes to a more content life, I think. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I've started taking up things like writing down what you're grateful for, writing letters to yourself and stuff like that, because it's so easy to. I mean, I do it all the time. I'm guilty of this. Life's so fast paced. Like in term when you do things, when you start ventures, um, life's so fast paced in terms you got to be here at a certain time. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to, and you've got people around you in life that sometimes you might neglect, and there are other people who you might not have time for because your life is so high paced. And sometimes you've got to stop and have a look back, reflect, and think they're only trying to help. There's people worse off in life who I could probably help, family even. I could probably spend more time with them when you've got the time. So it's just writing things down, and there's so many pressures as a teenager. We've been through them. That when you get older, you're like, were they really pressures? But at the time, they're so big.
I
Which
think
sometimes,
also, uh, you know, we've talked about people sort of belittling, I don't know if that's the right word, but belittling
yeah,
mental health conditions. But it's also important to know for any young person that might be watching this, if you do have long, prolonged periods, you know, depressive episodes, go and get the help. Do you know what I mean? We're not dismissing it. You know, if you are truly suffering from something that is so inhibiting to yourself, yeah, and to your life, go and get help for it. You know, whatever that is, whether that's pornography, whether it's drugs, whether it's drink, whether it's, you know, anything. Go and seek some help for it. Yeah.
yeah, mate. And I think you've rounded that off perfectly. Because I was going to stress we weren't belittling the issue. We were just speaking facts in terms of people do take advantage of the depression tag, and it's not easy to spot because people can play up to it. And but if you have got, like Aaron said, if you have got the actual depressive episodes, long periods, you do need to see someone, because that is an opportunity for you to change your life around. Because I feel like mental health issues do come out as a positive thing when you do turn your life around, because you've got something to drive your life then and make that change. But yeah, I know you're a busy guy, Aaron, so we're going to end the podcast here. It's been quite a good episode. It's been probably one of the best episodes I've ever done, because you've got that life experience. Like I said, you want that. You're in your early 20s. That's crazy in terms of like the stuff, life experience, and the stuff you've got to come. But I'm sure everyone here, mate, is excited for you, excited for your vodka brand, excited for everything. And I'm sure in a few months' time, in the summer, we will have a big group podcast where we can discuss, because we wanted to try and do it face to face, but the weather didn't allow it. But yeah, mate, it's been good to have you on.
Been good to be here. Thank you very much.
Very welcome, mate. Anyone who hasn't, please follow Aaron on social medias. I'll link them all in the description. I will keep everyone updated with his business when it is officially out, because it's a very exciting venture for, the UK, because I've tried the product and it is great. It's unique. It's different, and yeah, man, it's great, man. And I feel like we've got big futures ahead of us, both of us.
I think so. I think it's the road to financial freedom, and you keep knocking on the door until the door answers.
Exactly, mate.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right, guys, I hope you have all enjoyed this podcast. Like I said, follow Aaron on social media. We've got a Q&A coming out mid this week. We're filming this on a Sunday, so it'll be the next video after this. So yeah, subscribe if you're new, like the video, leave a comment what you liked about it. If you didn't like it, please be constructive. Yeah, see you in a bit.
See you later.